All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 397 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today we've got the regular gang back together. St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie, welcome back.
What's up? Thanks.
69th Blizzard, Ken.
Hello.
And from the Great White North, Marcus Almighty.
Greetings, everyone.
How did Canada do in the hockey at the Olympics?
I believe they got gold.
Yeah?
You believe
The
girls got gold.
The girls got gold. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what the men got, but
wasn't it Finland? I think Finland won the men's.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
I think.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot.
That just goes to show you what happens when Canada and the United States and these teams don't use NHLers. It's like a complete nosedive.
And that's how it should be. That's why I hate
Correct.
the Olympics. I don't like professional athletes. I don't like the basketball in the Summer Olympics just being a show-off show for LeBron and his ilk any more than, professional tennis players playing. I like it to be amateur athletics. I'm not so retro that I think they should all be nude. So maybe the beach volleyball, but all right, enough of that shit. We come here to escape reality. So
Yes.
we're going into random topics from the board today. One of the latest announcements, and it hit my Polestar feed, was that Kiss is coming back to my neck of the woods, or Ken, our neck of the woods. They have been announced for, night 2 of the Aftershock Festival at Discovery Park in Sacramento. Lamb of God, Judas Priest, and I don't really give a shit about any of the other acts.
A million others.
I can't read the print, so I can't go through it.
Chevelle,
Nita Strauss is in there, so that one's she's great. Gwar's in there.
Helmet
for Valentine.
Plush, Orgasm, Mike's Dead, Against the Current, Orbit Culture, Archetypes Collide.
Nita Strauss.
Wow, I've heard of all these bands.
Apocalypse.
I can't even arse to Google them.
Helmet, Motionless in White. I don't know half of these bands.
I know some of them, but
Yeah, so Ken and I have seen Judas Priest.
right.
I've seen Lamb of God.
I have zero interest in Rob Zombie, Slipknot, Stone Temple. Well, how can it be Stone Temple Pilots without Scott?
Can't.
It can't. Papa
Kill Switch
Roach.
Engage.
Papa Roach.
Foo Fighters.
boy.
I would love to see the Foo Fighters, but I'm so sick of seeing the Foo Fighters because they're so overexposed at this point. That one toss I do not give. So I'm skipping this. As I said in one of the posts, I don't see Zodiac Mind Warp on there, so I'm not going. But also the idea of going to a festival I find very unappealing. Ken, you going to go? Any interest?
No. I mean, for like a split second, I thought, oh, it's a little bit over an hour away, and I thought, but not. I don't want to be there with all that mess. It's going to be a big mess over there, with all these groups and bands and people and if I was about 30 years younger, I'd probably go, do it. But at this point, I probably have seen my last Kiss show.
Yeah, it's feeling like that a little bit at the moment. But, that was one of your topics today, was what's next for Kiss, because it's so quiet at the moment. What do you think is next? And think of some of the things that are actually lined up, because it's not quiet to the point of, mausoleum.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that's going to be, I can see as what, is these kind of things. Festivals and, the European kind of festivals and maybe some other one-offs or Vegas, obviously they've been trying to get that going. But that's about it. I mean, I think the regular touring after this year is just, that's it. But I think they will pop up here and there. If they're paid enough money, they'll show up and do these one-offs here and there.
I found the other day on Facebook, they re-put up, I don't remember if it was Kiss that did this, but they put up the dates for South America up again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they
It looks
did?
so. So
Yeah.
it looks like that's going to happen now. They're showing like Colombia and Brazil and all these places that are supposed to be happening in April, I believe it's said, right? That they're doing it. So that looks like it's going to be a go. But what I'm interested in though is how is the dynamic going to switch now for any kind of European touring now that the latest news has happened? Is there going to be nerves a bit to want to haul over gear to Europe with this shit starting to happen now, or?
Time will tell.
Time will tell, but I also wouldn't think so because they don't have any dates that far east.
Well, Western Europe.
Germany. It's exactly, Lonnie. It's Western Europe this time around. They do have Croatia, and Czech Republic and Hungary, but even those aren't that. Well, I guess anyone in their right mind is going to wait and see what happens. But really, if things get handled, hopefully it's not an issue because I'm sure KISS doesn't want to postpone another tour. Wouldn't be surprised if there's tit for tat sort of economic bullshit going on. But whether or how far that goes to impacting stuff, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a great thing that South America looks like it is a go. Australia getting shit canned really was a bummer, but multiple sources are also suggesting that some of that came down to some ticket sales issues. So not only some of the limitations that are still affecting them. So, I think happy thoughts. Lonnie, what about you for, anything on your radar in terms of what's coming next or what you would like for KISS to start thinking about doing?
It's interesting because at this point in time, we were supposed to be after the final show. The final show was supposed to take place in July of 2021. We're supposed to be, 6-7 months into a post-touring KISS world. But obviously we're not with the events that have transpired in the last 2 years. So what am I looking forward to? I don't know. I guess, I like the idea of the Off the Soundboard series. I'm still not real thrilled with the one that's coming out next month. I still haven't even ordered it. That's how unthrilled I am with it still. Things like that interest me more than anything else. And I'll bring it up that I thought about Memorial Day weekend with this Creatures Fest, especially with the announcement of Peter Criss being on board with that. I've only met Peter the one time, and I thought, oh, well, that might be cool to go down there and get a meet and greet with Peter, and get Peter to sign something. And then I looked at it. Well, it's $300 for you and a guest. You get your picture taken with Peter, and you get one item signed. And I have a hard time for $300. I could get a lot of entertainment for $300.
Yeah.
God, I get a lot of entertainment out of Five Fingers.
Correct. But I thought I saw it and I was excited, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? That doesn't. I'm not going to do that. Nashville's a 5.5 hour drive for me. It's very doable. But I'm not for $300 to do that. It doesn't do it for me. And maybe I'm in a different place in my life. Ken said the same type of thing earlier. Maybe we're all just getting old too. I don't know. But for $300, like, yeah, it'd be cool to have. But for one item signed for $300, no, I'm not going to do that. So what am I looking forward to is maybe a better opportunity like that might be a little more reasonable. I might get a little more bang for my buck. Maybe KISS Indie Expos resume at some point in time. If we get to that point where you can meet up with people, other members of the KISS Army, and either buy merch or just share war stories of your days supporting the band, things like that. But I'm kind of with Ken too, where I think I've seen my last KISS show, even though it came in the fall of 2019. It was here in St. Louis, and I think I even said at the time that I think I'm done. I don't need to see him again. I saw him with my brother, the guy who I saw my first KISS show with, the guy who introduced me to the band. It was a nice complete circle. That I don't think I need to see them again. I feel like I'd be chasing the dragon at that point. I don't need the keep continuing to get that high, I think I've achieved it. So it's a long-winded answer to what am I looking forward to. Maybe some Kiss Expos, maybe some off the soundboard type stuff. Maybe
some better stuff than what's currently on offer.
Stuff that's currently what's going on, I guess. What you could say. I'm hopeful for things like that.
Yeah, you raise a really good point about Creatures Fest, and I get at least 1 p.m. every week from someone else asking, "You coming to Nashville? You coming to Creatures Fest?" And it's like, no, I have no interest whatsoever in any of that. Most of those additional bands don't do anything for me. I've met Vinny in makeup, out of makeup, gotten a couple of things signed, and I'm good. Peter, God bless him. I'm thrilled he'll be getting out and about. At least I hope so. Because even at $300, what he does for his meet and greets is he really does do a great job being fully invested in delivering that experience to the fan, and they're very, very aware of the value of the dollar. But come on, there's no way there could be different pricing between Ace and Peter at the event. But it's a really scary thing to consider that this may be the way that events are going in terms of pricing. And I know we've got inflation. I know we've got economics. I know it's very, very expensive to put on these events. Come on, I get it. Especially under the limitations that a lot of these people have to work. But it's scary to think that it may be a death knell for events and the affordability. If you're one of the people who really want to meet Peter, there's a lot of people who haven't had those opportunities. And I hope everyone who hasn't met an original member of KISS gets the opportunity to meet Peter or Ace, outside of the party line of everything about Gene and Paul. These are the other two guys that are a critical part of that. And Peter doesn't do a tremendous amount of events. So 300 is going to price a lot of people out, especially at this time with uncertainty and doubt in life. And that's worrying. John Krabbe's $50.
Sounds like a deal.
You probably got to bring your own camera, but one item as well. It's concerning, but it's also a bright spot that this event's getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the minute. I can't keep up with all these frickin' updates. I don't even watch them. Sorry, Neil. It's like when you've got everything down, I'll read it, but I can't take in this. We're doing this 45 minutes to do this. It's just too much for me to follow. So Lonnie nailed it. Ken, it was your topic, I think. Or did I start with you?
Yeah, you started with
I can't remember. Keep me in line, guys. Help out.
I agree. I agree with the other guys here. I mean, Lonnie, he was agreeing with me. I was agreeing with him, and I do want them to. I'm not so worried about them playing shows and touring, but if they just keep those box sets coming out, keep us, keep the fans happy, kind of thing. Those types of things. Put those out for us.
Yeah. Mark, what about, with you, I mean, what do you want to kind of see coming out, or what would interest you at this point?
Well, I still like the idea of the box set thing, even though the Destroyer one, isn't that ironic? The first one they put out is the one that I've had.
Favorite.
Well, not that. I was fully invested in getting it, but the whole bullshit that happened between Kiss Online and me just completely left a sour taste in my mouth. I got a full refund back, and I told them to take the box and shove it somewhere. And now I'm looking forward to other boxes, but that did leave a bad taste in my mouth. I will obviously go another route as far as buying it, right? But I still think it's a good idea. I still think that the soundboard stuff is a good idea, pending that they find better shows to release. And just a little side note, I think Julian's Not From the Soundboard postings have been brilliant. The 3 that he's put up already. I mean, the one is actually pretty good sounding considering it's an audience, which is that 1,000-seater one from like 75 or 4. It's an old one, like an early show, 1,000 people only. And that one sounded pretty decent, all things considered. But I'm hoping Julian, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, puts up a couple of more of those up there because I was really enjoying listening to those.
Which 74 show do you want?
You know what I'd like to hear? Just anything like from that has like a decent sound, like even like some sort of a FM broadcast or something. Like, is there a Cleveland show or something like that that's half decent?
Not that I have, and those ones are just the master tapes that I own that I can actually do something with. Those are already out, so those are just shits and giggles to get them out. Well, they're already out, and they've already in many cases people took them and sold them to the bootlegger. Probably didn't sell them to the bootleggers anyway, but no one got the great transfers that I've got. Or the complete stuff, so that's the only reason they're there.
So the last thing I just wanted to say, which in terms of what I'm looking forward to, and I mean, I've heard this talked about from a few people that I talked to within the musical circles about the future of touring. Now, it looks like in America things are starting to get back a bit as far as bands getting up and around and touring, but I know that there's been talk of a few bands that are like still a little uncertain of it. And I've heard all these kind of ideas from, why don't we just, think about finding one general location within the city that they live in. Let's say like a band's from Chicago, they find a pretty decent sized like hotel or some kind of ballroom, and they just do a normal kind of residency there and have everybody come to them. I mean, you have to be a pretty big band, I think, to do that long term. But I think that until it becomes more like stable is the word I guess I'm looking for. I think that the bands are still trying to find innovative ways to do this touring thing without risking themselves and their crew still, right?
Well, just to say, a couple of last week or a few days ago, I saw when McCartney's going to do that tour. And he's going to play in Oakland. And though I saw him the tour before in San Jose, but I thought, okay, well, I guess the pandemic is over because McCartney's touring. Because I was thinking he was going to wait until it's really, really over. But I was almost kind of surprised at his his age and he he doesn't need the money, obviously.
No, but he wants to live.
Yeah, he wants to live his life, I guess, and enjoy it. If he enjoys it, that's great. So maybe he feels the risk is a lot lower now, and hopefully it is and will be. The couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that was Lonnie's take on. Well, that was your point about Peter on the what was it, the Creatures Fest.
Right.
Ken, you had a topic here about last performance on a cruise. What's your point?
Oh, well, you saw the announcement, for Kiss Cruise 11, right? It's 11.
Last time to see Kiss on a Kiss.
It says the last performance of Kiss, or for Kiss on the cruise. But they say it's the last performance on a cruise. Mm-hmm. So that means there's still going to be more performances. It kind of, the way it's worded. It makes you, oh shoot, that might be their last performance, but no, it's not going to be their last performance. They'll have, I'm sure, like I said earlier, ongoing, festivals, and they'll do their one last end of the road show, whenever that may be, end of the year or the beginning of next year, I guess. But I just thought that was interesting. Well, last performance on a cruise, does that mean, will that be the last Kiss cruise? Or will there be more Kiss cruises, but they won't perform? Or, what is it going to be? Just kind of curious if it's going to just, that's
you're going to have to lower the ticket prices if you're going to have a Kiss cruise, not Kiss performing. Come on.
No, you're not.
Kiss 2.0.
I know.
People say 2.0.
No, this year's Creatures Fest is the last one on land. That's what it's going to end up being. It's going to be the Indie Expo at sea.
No, you're right. You're right.
Because if there is enough name marquee value, don't doubt that there's a lot of people who go, their first consideration is, number one, it's a cruise, and the music-related entertainment is a bonus. You know, I think we've kind of discussed that before. I mean, Lonnie, as a former cruiser, if, let's say, there was like a Creatures Fest at sea with a similar sort of lineup, so say Peter Criss, Ace, I don't think you'd get Vinny, but tough luck.
I don't think you're getting Vinny on a boat.
You know, Black and Blue and Rat and those sorts of bands, would that have held any interest to you back when you were interested in cruising?
I don't think so. Because, I'm sorry, it's probably not the answer to the question you wanted, but the lore of the cruise for me, I went on Kiss Cruise too. The lore of the cruise for me was the songs, the deep cuts that they played on the first one. And I was at home and I was getting updates online just like anybody else. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're playing I Love Her All I Can. I can't believe they're playing All the Way. I can't believe they're playing this. I can't believe they're playing that. This is amazing. This is like a Kiss nerd like me's like dream that they're playing this. I'm going on the next one. I want to be a part of this. So that was the lore for me, is that they're playing these deep cuts. They're not playing the same old standard set list that we've seen time and time and time and time again. That, okay, this is for the hardcore fans. The reason why we don't play these deep cuts in concerts is because the masses don't know them. So now we're here with the hardcore fans. We're going to play these deep cuts. And I thought, man, I screwed up and didn't go on that. If they do another one, I'm doing it. And, they announced it right away. I signed up and I went. So the idea of going on a Kiss cruise without Kiss playing, I don't know. I mean, am I going to fly to Miami or fly to LA, pay for the cruise, get on a cruise ship and watch? Okay, an Ace Frehley set, that's cool. The Bruce Kulick set, okay, that to me right now, that's the biggest lore of the cruise right now would be the Bruce Kulick set, honestly, considering what Kiss has played on the last few Kiss cruises. Or to see like a tribute band.
Frehley's Comet reunion.
Right. Okay.
I think,
but it's not Kiss.
Yeah, I think Lonnie makes a good point. I mean, the whole appeal of the Kiss cruise is Kiss. Without them on there is no ticket value to it, in my opinion. I mean, it's just, why don't call it a Kiss cruise? Call it like these other things, the 50,000 tons of metal cruise like they have out there, and all these other kind of named ones where you can go and see a variety of different bands, and it's on a cruise. I think the whole thing that people were jumping on when this started was that it was Kiss and it was on a boat. These guys were on the boat, so you could maybe somehow, if you were really lucky, find them somewhere and talk with them or whatever. And the whole thing is, with them not being a part of it that way, really it's not a Kiss cruise in my opinion. Maybe they'll still appear on there and maybe they'll just do like meet and greets and stuff, but I think the main thing was just what Lonnie said. They did these fantastic performances where they played songs that they never played on stage during their tours. So that brought out these people who were longtime diehard fans. You're going to lose those people for sure if they're not going to be playing on there, because many of these people I would assume have met Gene and Paul and these guys a couple of times already. So even that might be not as much of a lure. It's always been down to the performance of Kiss, I think, is the main thing that people go to these cruises for. They want to see them perform, whether it's the Sail Away show or whether it's the big show they do in makeup with the recreations of the sets. Like they did the Creatures one with the tank, did the recreation of the Alive one, which I thought was pretty cool. They did the one with the Dress to Kill and the tuxedos there. That was a pretty neat idea, So
and then they stopped making any effort pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that was at the end of the day, the lure of this was having them on there and play. If you get that out of there, I just can't imagine what they're going to do to make people go, okay, shit, now I'm going for sure now. Because they're going to do this, now I'm going to go for sure. What could that be?
That's a great point, Mark. How would you get a new person to sign up? You might still get the old person. I've been on all these cruises, and I love seeing these people that I've seen, like other members of the Kiss Army time and time again. What's going to attract the first-time cruisers to go on a cruise at that point?
Yeah.
I don't know what they could do. They might lure me if they have Vinny walk the plank.
Wow.
Wow, that's unnecessary.
Well, I think they could get away with trying a Creatures Fest, at sea, a Creatures Cruise.
It'd be less expensive.
No, if you have, some original member like Ace or maybe
Because
Gene.
creatures are so inexpensive.
Imagine Gene going on this on a Creatures Cruise. So you keep it with the Halloween theme and the Kiss theme without calling it Kiss. Gene and Ace share the same backing band and do some live shows. And then you put on a few tribute bands. So you get someone like Mr. Speed who's doing the current Dynasty type thing and say, all right, you're only doing a Dynasty set. You get another tribute band who's going to do only the Love Gun 77 set or 74 or whatever. And then you have the Rats, the token connected bands, even, Frelly's Comet Reunion or Black and Blue, whatever. I think you could still pull it off. I think you would still have to have one member of the band on there to get people to go on, and it would probably be the one with the most desire to sell, chockeys to people, basses. That's what I think. That's why.
Yeah, you'd have to have like a Gene Simmons solo band.
Cool.
That would get people. I'm pretty sure that would get people on because there are a lot of people who missed out on that opportunity. I think a Frelly's Comet Reunion could also entice people because I know there's a lot of people who've missed out on those very few opportunities that have arisen. But I still think you'd have to have some marquee value going, and it would be a massive roll of the dice. I mean, I think everyone involved would have to be pretty desperate. I don't think Gene's that desperate. He did sell his house today in Vegas. Finally.
I'm just laughing because we're talking about this so seriously, and in between them talking about these ideas, we're always throwing in and then you put the Rats in, poor Rats. They've been relegated to the band that does the Holiday Inn tours or something now. You're making it sound like they're such a complete
Joke.
Oh, we'll just add in Rat,
They'll do it.
We can get them off the Howard Johnson tours that they're doing right now to come and play a set on the. I mean, I feel bad for those guys because they were a pretty big band in the '80s, and now it's
now they will play for food.
Yeah, exactly.
Play for cheese.
They had a couple of hits, and that was it.
Oh, they're a great band back in the day, but
They had a lot of hits actually.
At their top.
Yeah. All right, so that takes care of that, I think. Here's a good topic actually, and Parasite Studios reunion tour. What if you're in charge? And thank you for being honest. Starts off stupid topic, but bear with me. Had I been in charge in 1996, here's my list of the ways I would do the reunion differently. All right, Lonnie, how would you do it differently? You're the boss now. We hear and we obey. Wait, you hear and you obey.
Yeah. If I were in charge of the reunion tour, I mean, I love the way it started. That it started at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. I think that was the right move, even more so than starting it in New York. Put it in Detroit, Rock City to start with. I think that was right. But I would have, and this is going to be the obvious decision, is I really would have recreated that 77 stage that I thought we were going to get. And I saw on the third show of the reunion tour, and the internet is in its infancy. I hadn't seen pictures of them from the first two shows. I mean, the tour was less than a week old. When the curtain came down, where are the steps? I was surprised the steps weren't there. So that's the first thing the very first thing I would do is I would have replicated that 77 stage, and it would have looked just like they looked on the Detroit Rock City movie. Because then 2 years later they filmed Detroit Rock City. Oh, guess what? We're going to recreate the 77 stage. Well, why didn't we do this? And we're going to wear the Love Gun outfits that we wore 2 years ago on the reunion tour. Well, why didn't we do that 2 years ago? That made zero sense to me. I definitely would have done that for starters. I wouldn't have put out "You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best" to kick off the tour. I would have put out something similar to what they're doing now with this Off the Soundboard series, but with a 70s show. whether in Anaheim might be a terrible example because I know there's red tape and I know there's money involved, but I would have done something to that effect of a live show from the 70s, not a live 2, a live show from the 70s. Put that out a week before the tour starts and leave off the Jay Leno interview at the end. You don't need that on there. But a live show from the 70s. And just really try to recreate that magic even more so than what they did. Like they did good. I love the reunion tour. Like if Andrew was here, like Andrew like really loves the reunion tour. I love the Gene flying up. I think that should have stayed. The Ace shooting rockets out of the guitar, even though it was from '79, it fit very well. It's the mystique that we were looking for. But and I love this. And as worn out as that set list is now, because they've really just taken that reunion tour set list and like moved songs around for the last 25 years more than anything else. At the time, the reunion tour set list made a lot of sense, and I thought the set list was almost perfect at the time. I don't think I would really change the set list. I would really change. I guess my two gripes is the stage should have looked like '77 more so, and it should have been just a live concert. Those are the two things I would change. So, what about you guys?
Well, one thing that I would have liked to have seen, or what I would have did if I was involved with this for sure, is I would have took more advantage of the two things that KISS are really good at, and I think they had the power at this time to do it, was when they hit certain markets, like Tiger Stadium when they went and played there, okay, or when they played in like St. Louis or Chicago or New York City, have a live simulcast on television of the first 3 songs on TV. I would have did that for sure. The TV and KISS go hand in hand. Okay, that always from the beginning. That's always been drilled in my head is that KISS were the first band to embrace television and to kind of really push it and do that kind of stuff. I think that would have been a great thing to do. Not because I don't think they needed help in ticket sales. I don't think that they needed help at all. But if anything, I think I would have put their ticket sales way over the top. If you come home on a Thursday night or whatever, and they're playing in Toronto, let's say, and you catch the first 3 songs of their set on TV. Well, I think I might be jumping the next day to try to find the nearest city that they're going to play and try to go and see them because it's got me excited. I see them on TV, bing bang boom, all the stuff on TV is making me excited. So I really think that they should have embraced television and integrated it more into their tour. And used it as a sort of marketing tool for their tour. Like I said, I'm not saying that it did badly at all. Obviously, it did great, the tour, right? But I really think that TV and KISS are great. I remember when they announced the dates in Toronto, there were commercials all the time here. KISS, Toronto, Skydome, KISS. And I just even seeing that, I was like, holy shit, like it was exciting to see it on TV, So could you imagine having them broadcast, 3 songs, live from the show that they're playing at that major city? People would love it, man. And even people that are not big KISS fans might go, oh wow, this looks really exciting. Maybe I'll go take a chance, and when they come by, I'll go and see it. And the other thing I would have done is in between some of the legs or something, while they're playing, I would have brought along somebody like, let's say, Kramer or even Ezrin or somebody along and record their sets and put out a live record in between some of the legs of the show. I think that a proper live recording of that show might be something that would really appeal to people. And what better time to do it is then, when people are all excited about going to KISS shows, going to see it. They're back in town, they're touring again. Oh my God! When in between leg number 2, they're putting out a live album. I would have jumped on that immediately and bought it. So those are 2 things I think that I would have definitely did if I was in charge of that.
You nail it with the live
recording
did. And not you wanted the best. Both of those points for me are just 2 of the biggies. Even though it wouldn't have been wise to get these guys to try and record any new music before the tour, I think something a little bit more authentic than what they did with You Wanted the Best would have been the way to go, even holding off until the end of that first leg. But I think KISS in their head just can't get past, well, we're going to need a month in the studio to fix it up. Whereas it would have just been better to leave, to get the shows in the can and then leave it in the hands, and I say Kramer for it, because an engineer, to take the best performances and put together an alive worldwide album to go along with the tour. And that might have gone some way to taking pressure off for what came later. I mean, there's not a lot I would reinvent with the reunion tour. I think one thing that the band really did miss out on that other bands had already taken up were leveraging the web. Kiss Online didn't come along for a long time, and there was a reliance on Otaku, Roth's Rendezvous, Freaks, and of course the mighty Kiss Asylum, to get that fan information out. And Kiss Nation at AOL, really didn't do much. There were bands that had already released digital music in 1995 of a similar stature to Kiss. So it would have been a good idea, in my view, for them to leverage the internet. Even though it was taking an hour and a half to download, a 3-minute song, fans were still doing it. I still have my digital download of that band's song that they put up on the web back then. And Kiss could so easily, or maybe not, because again it's Kiss, and everything related to Kiss that one thinks might be simple seems to be incredibly complex, which is ironic for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Just should have had more of a presence with which to engage the fans from day one of that reunion. There have been bands that have done tour diaries, even back then, on the web. Imagine you log on to the Kiss website. They might have even been early enough to get the Kiss.com. Probably not, because that would have gone pretty quickly. But, something a little bit more intelligent named. And reading Peter's diary for the day. Goddamn Windows, or what people were saying he complained about on the tour, or Ace's diary for the day. There's just, that's, to me, is the biggest thing that they did wrong with the reunion tour, other than not having a live document of it properly. Other than that, the stage, I get it. There's so many elements with that I would change, but again, what they were trying to do is that dreamscape of 1977 in people's minds. So Mark completely nailed it with the music, and Lonnie, you nailed it with it not being you wanted the best. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with, especially, one of the first things that came to my mind is, like Lonnie said, is the stage, the live to, gatefold opening stage. And obviously when they took that picture, they had to blow off everything to create all that fire and everything. But by that time, they probably could have, put more firepower into those kind of effects to actually do that. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen the stairs, even if they weren't necessarily functional from the point of going up and down. Maybe they could have worked around that and just still had them for the atmosphere,
escalators,
the look. Escalators, yeah, there you go. Escalators, and make it a little bit more safer for them to go up and down. But yeah, that's one thing. I would have also those outfits from Love Gun. I know they said they were trying to recreate 77, but I would have went back to Destroyer, and they ended up using that later, but I would have used the Destroyer outfits. I think they would have worked a little bit better on with them, and how their some of their bodies have changed and so on from the 70s. Just saying, I just think it would have looked better.
At least it looked better than 89.
Yeah, well, yeah.
How was that?
And then as far as you wanted the best, you got the best. Yeah, I would have had a bigger amount of, or more music on there. It doesn't have to be all from the same concept, but rarities. But don't doctor them at all. Don't touch them. Just leave it, warts and all on that. And then plus, put one new song on there. Just one new song. Grab an old song from one of their demos. We're starting to see them now, right?
They could have taken "Don't You Hesitate" so easily.
They could have, They could have done one of their, demo form songs that didn't make the album, and record it, put it out, add that to as a bonus. Man, I think that thing would have sold even, a lot better. I don't know how much it sold, but I think it would have sold a lot better. And as for Mark's about putting out some music, yeah, I could see them putting out music, but it's mostly going to be the fans putting out, buying that up during the tour if there's some live stuff. I mean, some general audience people get to hear that, they might think, oh, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't sound that great. I mean, there's a risk there. There's a reward, but there's a risk that if they don't do a good job of producing and putting that on a
that's
good
why you get
quality
creator,
live concert. Yeah, true, but it's a risk that, oh shoot, well, yeah, it's okay, maybe I won't go see them, buy a ticket, though. Obviously the tickets sold out so quick anyway. I mean, they didn't really need any extra promotion. Those things were just going like hotcakes. So,
well, what do you think about the TV idea, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I don't know how easy that would be able to do from town to town, right, concert to concert. If everyone's gonna buy in these different cities, whether it's a news, maybe they'll give them extra access backstage, or if you show these few songs on the first 3 songs on TV or something. But yeah, it would be cool. It's just making it work. I mean, and maybe you do it once a month or once a week, or twice,
Yeah.
every other week.
It's not a daily occurrence. I just thought
because
some of the
daily
major
thing would be
cities,
so
right?
difficult, I think, to do. But I'm sure some people would buy in and do it.
Yeah, I think if you think, and I wish Andrew was here for this part, because I can't remember what their first TV appearance was for performing live. Was it the MTV thing? September?
Yes. Yeah.
The Weenie Roast?
The Weenie, that wasn't
TV.
broadcast.
They were on The Simpsons.
It wasn't necessarily TV, that's right.
They were on The Simpsons in April of '96 promoting, and that was one of the first times you had really seen them on TV. Maybe other than like Entertainment Tonight, like the night
or
of the press
show,
conference.
maybe too.
Yeah, no, the '70s show was later.
That's 98.
They were on The Simpsons.
Too late.
They're on The Simpsons promoting Tiger Stadium in '96, like April of '96. And I remember seeing that was the first time I'd seen Gene and Paul like live, not live, but on TV, in motion, not just pictures in Hit Parader or something like that.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's amazing. But I think the first time they performed on television, actual performance, I think you're right, Julian. I think it was MTV 1996, and I was a senior in high school. I remember watching that and like being so proud, like that's my band up there closing out MTV Video Music Awards, which is like the award show at the time.
Yeah, that was still really big.
Every big band performed on that. Anybody performed on that, and Kiss closed it out under the Brooklyn Bridge. I think that was the first time. And then they were on Dick Clark. They were on Dick Clark, 96 and the 97. That's the show Andrew was at.
Oh yeah.
And that was a big deal too. Wasn't
that filmed in Atlanta?
But it was filmed in Atlanta. It was filmed in Atlanta, but like they were live from New Jersey. Bullshit, whatever. But that was maybe the second time I'd seen them perform on television.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was a big deal.
Mark's point is great. I mean, if you think of what they did for Psycho Circus, that first Tiger Stadium show, or even the Weenie Roast, should have been a national, music television event on MTV at the time, which was still partially rock. that should have been, rather than what came later with Psycho Circus. Was Mad TV going back then? But whatever the case, the first few songs from the very first reunion show should have been on a TV thing.
Agreed. I do remember, now when the Shout It Out Loud video came out, I remember watching that late summer of 96. I probably saw that on TV before MTV Video Music Awards in September of 96. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
And just being blown away. And I had already seen them in concert, but like watching MTV and like here's Kiss doing Shout It Out Loud, and it's all Detroit footage.
Yeah.
And I'm like holy shit. That was probably the first time I'd seen them perform on television, was the Shout It Out Loud video, actually. We need Andrew.
Yeah, or anyone who's watching this, correct us. If you recall them being shown on TV properly and not just clips from a news reel, we're talking full-on performance prior to the MTV thing. And I know when they went out to Europe, well, that's 97. There's more.
That MTV thing? Yeah,
MTV Europe. So, yeah, there should have been more TV for the reunion tour, proper TV. They never did Saturday Night Live, did they?
Oh, never.
No. They never bought in the Kiss.
They never did any of the other kind of big shows where, Letterman comes many years later, So it's very weird for something that was as big as it was, for it not to have that sort of coverage, or at least not that I recall. And it's so long ago now, probably forgetting some really obvious stuff that when someone mentions it, we'll be like, dope. So there we go. All right, let's get back into the shows, because this is another kind of good topic: the importance of front row, and this is very topical. Front row, when we were growing up, was like holy ground, because you really had to be a diehard to get there. Either you had to fight your way through GA and kill people to get to the front, or you had to wait in line and get lucky with a ticket. Now it's more, if you can afford it, you can go. For who's been front row at a Kiss show?
I have.
So
Yeah.
we have, and once you go first class, you never go back, to my way of thinking. I mean, I've been in the really back of a stadium, which I can't think of anything worse. I was so far from the stage at Tiger Stadium that even opera binoculars wouldn't have worked. I needed a fucking telephoto lens worthy of filming a space shuttle launch to see shit. There is nothing like it in the world. What's your thought on that, Lonnie? You had the first hand raised. Front row or other? Which do you get the best concert experience from?
I've seen them in the first 5 rows multiple times, but I saw them front row in Milwaukee 2009. They played Summerfest in Milwaukee 2009. It was still the Live 35 tour. Sonic Boom had not come out. They did this little mini tour. They played Milwaukee, and then 2 weeks later they played Windsor and Sarnia in Canada. I went to both of those shows also.
Ooh, Sarnia.
Yeah, how about that one? They played Sarnia Fest and Windsor back-to-back nights. I went to both of those, and they played Milwaukee 2 weeks before, and I went to that show too. But I was first. And they were still in the Destroyer costume. Sonic Boom was still a few months away from coming out. They played that Alive 35 set of just playing Alive straight through, basically omitting like Firehouse and Watching You or whatever it was, and then coming back out and doing some hits, Shout It Out Loud, Love Gun, I Love It Loud, stuff like that. But I was it was front row, and it wasn't like a big barricade between front row and the stage too. Like I was like, could almost reach out and touch them, so close. And I remember when the banner came down, and like you couldn't even read Kiss on the banner. I was so close. I mean, it was like I looked at the person next to me and I said, "It's like we're almost too close." And she goes, "No, there's no such thing as too close." But I mean, it was like we were like it was ridiculous. And just the heat coming off the flames, and the fact that like no one is in front of you, you're just looking just dead on at the band. I'm trying to take pictures at the same time, and it's just like the pictures I'm trying to take don't do what I'm witnessing with my own eyes justice, because I could reach out and just touch Gene's boot if I want to right now. But I've seen them also like 10 or 15 rows back, and that's a different experience too, because then you're close, but you can see the whole stage show. And then you see in front row, and then you see the same show 10, 15 rows back. You're like, oh, I didn't even know this over here was happening during this part of the show, because I'm so right, so dead on.
Yeah.
But there is something magical about being that close to, and I'm in front row for other bands. I've waited in line since noon for Alice Cooper when he was playing a theater in St. Louis, and that's amazing in and of itself. But front row to Kiss show, there's the spectacle is just so in your face, and there's just absolutely nothing like it. But to Julian's point, though, it's a great point that it used to be you either had to get lucky with a line ticket when they had line tickets back in the day for shows, or you just had to camp out overnight. And now it's not who's the most diehard that sits in the front row. It's whoever has the most disposable income sits in the front row. And to me, that kind of takes the mystique and the fantasy away from it.
Yeah. I think that you bring up a good point, because in the history of my concert going, and I've seen quite a few concerts in my time, I never openly tried to get front row tickets for one reason, because I saw a couple bands front row, okay, and I hated it, because sonically, audio-wise, depending on where you're standing, you could be all night getting an earful of whoa, Marshall amps going 100 watts into your face there. Or if you're over in a certain other section of it, it's all bass guitar. Or nowadays with the in-ear monitors, there's nothing half the time coming off the stage, just drums. So I always went for the 200 level seats, but exactly in front of the stage. Because there's one thing that I always was told by the sound guys, because I used to knew a lot of sound guys who toured, and they said, if you want to hear the best sound at a concert, sit beside the board, because we're mixing it for what we think sounds the best. So if you want to hear the best trajectory or the best sound of the concert, sit where we sit, because if you move a few inches here or a few feet there, things change like you would not believe audio wise, especially in an enclosed place too. Man, they're mixing, the sound guys mixing for it to sound good for where he is. I don't know if people realize that, they ain't thinking about Mr. Guy in the front row or the guy on the left side of the building. They're thinking about the sound good where I'm standing, and that's it. They're in charge of the sound, right? And I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this too, but have you ever watched the show from side stage? The sound from that is wow, what am I listening to here? It's almost unlistenable sometimes. It's I would rather be back in the back of the building watching, because people forget about the throw of the sound, right? And there's a great documentary on an Iron Maiden concert. I think it's Vivo La something. It's some show from Chile in the 2000s, and they were showing the audio setup for their tours that they did in the stadiums, and that how they had to do certain sections of separate speakers so that there wasn't a huge time delay between this audio, because it's happened before. I've seen this where a drummer will hit a snare hit and you'll see him go, and then you'll hear the snare hit about 3 seconds later, because it's such a distance between the travel of the sound, right? That's why Iron Maiden started carrying such a huge system, so that they can bring the sound closer to people far away from the stage, right? So for me, I always never wanted front row, because I thought the audio was terrible in the front. I always wanted to go where the sound was good, and I always got tickets either beside the soundboard or, like I said, 200 level stage height. Even if it was 10 miles away, I'd rather have that, because at least then, because Rush also toured and did 360 audio. So it would go around the whole building. So you would catch that also nicely as well, right? If you were in the back, right? You would miss half of it if you're in the side of this arena, right? So, but that's how I kind of approached it.
Well, when Live Nation raises its prices on all tickets clustered around the board, you can thank Mark for creating a new premium seating plan. So now you can have your soundboard experience. Thank you, Mark, for your contribution to taking music to the next level. And Mark wants his cut, by the way, of that new pricing model for those seats. You know what? Front row farewell tour. Absolutely unfucking believable experience. Prior to that, all of my seats had basically been contests or comps, so they were pretty shitty seats at, like David Lee Roth shows and all that. So I didn't know any better. Again, Dodger Stadium was a shit show in terms of where my seats were, but I was barely sitting anyway. I just ended up ambling along, trying to get a better view. Vancouver, what was I, 8th row or something, and missed a lot of detail. It's only afterwards that I found out about the Rockets because we were so close up. We heard the whistle, I think I did anyway, but didn't see a lot of those elements up above. Did front row again with Ken, and that was freaking awesome. I'm sorry, that was, I've always had the urge to get closer and closer and closer because this is Kiss. And I almost feel like I have to be close to them because they're larger than life, rock gods. So nothing has ever been as good as front row for me at a Kiss show. Iron Maiden, Ghost, I go sit wherever because I'm just going to go listen to the music. Guns N' Roses, I think my tickets were just, nosebleeds. Didn't give a shit, just wanted to be there. Didn't want to spend a ton either. So very few sonic considerations. I mean, Todd Rundgren watched most of the show, the Utopia show, from the board. And, well, it's Todd. He sounded fucking good anyway. So that's how it's going to be. Ken, front row. I mean, you've had front row, and then you've had front row plus the Mountain View show, right?
Yeah, the Mountain View was even closer than that Oakland one. That was pretty darn amazing. Though there is advantages to that. You're just right there with them, with the band, and like Lonnie said, you feel the heat and all this. I mean, it's just crazy, and the fog. You're like in the middle of the fog. You can't even see through it, and all that kind of stuff that happens when you're that close. But you miss some of the full stage stuff. So when 2019 Sacramento, I was out back and off to the side a bit, and what was cool is I could see the whole thing. I mean, that was early in the tour, and they had all the pods, and they had that little what is it, that walkway stage with the star that they stopped doing not too long after that because it was kind of wobbly when Paul, did his flight out to it or whatever. But you got to see all that, you got to see all the fire, all the effects, everything going on when you're a little bit back. The sound does. I know, like Mark said, the sound's different based on where you're going. But I think they nailed it. Today they can do all kinds of stuff with their technology and stuff, as far as sound and projecting and with the speakers and stuff like that. But yeah, I think being front is just, if you're into the band that you're seeing, it's just awesome. You're just right there, and I've seen it a couple times front row with Kiss, and I think one of the Creature one I was like third row, one of the Creature shows. I mean, that was
I don't like people who brag.
Yeah, especially about the Creatures tour.
And then,
it's been a while.
but then I was thinking, then there's the Stone in the club. I wasn't right up against the stage, I was right next to the speaker. I was getting my ear blown.
Yeah, but he was
I
close
had
at
to
that
move.
one too, Lonnie.
But you're just close. In general,
this
in that little
revenge
club.
show, I saw at the stone, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't touch the stage. I could only touch the speaker.
And it's such a song. Jeez.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's good to have it from all different points. I did notice though my ears weren't as blown out at the Mountain View because I think being so close, the projection of the speaker is up and behind is kind of back behind you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have a ringing in my ear like I normally do at some of those concerts. And if I was maybe 10, 20 rows back, I definitely would have had my that cotton air in your ear feel that you get after.
No, it's the audio smoothing feature that they now have.
That's what
Tell
it
us
is.
more about all the
smooth
Kiss
it.
shows you've been to.
So
Tell us more, Ken, about Creatures.
yeah. I know 3 features, so we'll have to go back to that again. But no, so yeah, I mean, but being front row is still the ultimate. Yeah, there's people there in the front row that they can afford it, and they're not a huge Kiss fan just because they can afford it. But there's some of us. There's a number of Kiss fans definitely there. Obviously, I mean, if you just talking to Julian and I, when we went to Oakland, we're huge Kiss fans, and we're up there on the front row. But I'm sure there were some people on the front row that were.
Everyone around
Fair
us was huge
fans
Kiss
or
fans,
whatever.
thank goodness, because that just set the vibe. We were surrounded by animals going nuts, enjoying the show in a
They
good,
were.
positive way. Not
you get
people
in
going
more
to the
into it,
bar
yeah.
every 5 minutes or doing selfies or stupid shit. They were just into the music, singing
Yeah.
along, just, being an animal at the party like you're supposed to be. I think at the end of the day, it's just good to be at the show and hopefully to not have some 6'7" monstrosity, either tall or wide, in front of you, blocking your view, or a
Why do you
kid
hate guys that
standing.
are 6 feet tall?
Oh, just the one. Well, I'm 5'8", so no 5'7". God, so it can become a challenge. What was I, like 8th row in LA, and there was a fucking kid standing on the seat in front of me the whole time, which made him like
Pushed
9
him
foot
over, right?
tall. Oh God! So sometimes you're not going to win. But there we go. That's a whole bunch of random topics for one show. It's best just to be at the show and not worry about the seat. But if you can go front row in your life experience at a show that you like, it's certainly worth experiencing once. And then you can decide where you're best off and most comfortable. For the Wasp shows, I got seats. I'm not going down on the floor with those animals. Screw that. I'm too old for that shit. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you all for joining us and watching the show and supporting us week in and week out. We do appreciate it. So for now, for Lonnie, Mark, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.